Okay, so welcome everyone to our brand new webinar. So entrepreneurs claim to explore and capitalize risk. Management mitigates and avoids risk, and some sectors avoid risk completely. However, it is the banking sector that perhaps shares the most interesting relationship with risk and rewards. Bankers are in the business of understanding risk, undertaking them strategically, and generating wealth and value in the economy. Considering that banking is such a critical and valuable component of our marketing around the world, rewarding careers in banking are here to stay. To orient yourself towards the banking industry, it can be valuable to have access to the knowledge of seeing ins and out of this multifaceted industry. Therefore, today's webinar allows an invaluable opportunity. So here we have Mr. Karan Butalia, who is a finance professional with over 33 years of experience in various banking verticals. He has worked for government, private, multinational banks, and has headed large geographical dispersed teams as a business leader. He was the head business partner of Axis Bank for over 2 years and has collaborated with organizations like UNIDO Cluster Development, Export Promotion Councils, and many more. So here I would love to have Mr. Karan Butalia and have him introduce himself.
Thank you, Anu. You've done the introduction part. Thank you so much. I didn't know I'd done so much in life, but thank you again. So like Anu had said, ladies and gentlemen, first, welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining this webinar. Of course, as you know, the topic is aimed at the future of jobs in banking and insurance. We'll try to keep it as simple as possible. I am not going to be making a presentation. I work with notes. I have some notes which I'll refer to, so you might see my, might see me reading a little bit, but that is for reference. Yes, I have worked for over 33 years in various banks. Past 2 years, I'm an independent consultant. So I have seen practically every aspect of banking. And now I'm seeing the other side as how the other side sees bankers, which is a very interesting experience also. So that is about me briefly. And from here on, we will talk about banking, and I will, as we go along, I will tell you what we're going to be talking about. So before we go into the future, it is necessary to peek into the past, but with a warning. So, I think only God can predict the future, or economists. Economists are very good at predicting the past. I'm not going to try to do that. So we'll look at the past and we'll see where the trends are going and give you a fair amount of insights as to how you could prepare yourself for the banks in the banking and insurance industry as things are going for the present. So that's about me, Anu.
Yes.
So we can start from here.
Yes. So Mr. Karan Butalia, you've been part of this sector for quite some time. So if you could just brief us, a brief history of the banking sector.
Yeah, Anu. So, well, a brief history would not do justice to the banking sector. So let me start by saying that the modern banking, as you see, banking always existed. People are always borrowing and lending. What do banks do essentially? Banks take money from people who save more than they spend, such as people like me, and give it to people who spend more than they save. That's people like you. As simple as that. And this has been going on for ages. However, banks in their modern avatar, I think this word was derived from the word banco in Spanish or Portuguese. I'm not very sure. But as in their modern avatar, they appeared in India with the appearance of the Portuguese, the French, and the British. And the earliest commercial bank, though not an Indian established commercial bank, was what was called the Bank of Hindustan in 1770. It was the Mughal Empire days, literally towards the end of the Mughal Empire days. And then in 1786, we had a General Bank of India. Then in 1806, we had something called the Bank of Calcutta. So basically the point I'm making is that banking, commercial banking specifically, is very old. And wherever you have trade, you have banking. So that's how old banking has been in India. Yes, it has had a lot of history after that, which we shall touch upon in a little while. Or if Anu allows me, should I touch upon that right now, Anu, or should we go ahead with something else?
No, sure. You can continue and let us know.
Okay, fair. So let's come to how banks, they were established. So many banks came, they collapsed, they went back, and we should actually concentrate on the post-independence banking history. You'd be surprised to know that most of Indian banks till 1969 were private sector banks, other than what is called State Bank of India, which was the imperial bank earlier. And of course, the Reserve Bank of India. And imagine the Reserve Bank of India, which is the granddaddy of all banks in India, was also a private sector bank. It was nationalized in 47 or sometime like that. Anyway, you can Google that. So I'm just trying to give you a flavor. But the one major change happened in 1969 when the government decided to nationalize a lot of large private sector banks. There were various reasons for political economy. We won't go into that. But yes, they were established. They were meant to serve a certain kind of economic model, which we were trying to follow. Again, for a lot of years, it went on. Again, in 1980, more banks were nationalized. I think they possibly served their purpose, or they met. See, every organization has some logical advantages and disadvantages. So possibly they met all their advantages. And then they were becoming constrained. So in 1994, in fact, in 1991, there was a committee which was set up by the then government to open private sector banks. And 1994, we had another milestone where private sector banks, of some of which you can hear even today, like HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, which will be called UTI Bank, they were set up. Thereafter, again, the government allowed. By the way, banking licenses are not, they come in, they're given in phases. They're not on tap, except for today when they're given on tap. So again, some private sector banks came. And recently, about 5 years ago, the government allowed a specialized kind of banks to come in. And I'm talking commercial banks mainly. They're called small finance banks and payment banks. So today, the Indian banking ecosystem has old private sector banks, new private sector banks, public sector banks, State Bank of India with its huge presence. It has cooperative banks. It has developmental banks, like some of them still exist, like IFCI is there. It has specialized banks like NABARD, which helps in agriculture. It has something called SIDB, Small Industries Development, big space. Today, for the benefit of my friends here, we will concentrate mainly on commercial banking, which is the bank which you and me interact, and which are the preponderant employers of human resources in India. Yes, there are investment banks, but just for your information, investment banks are neither do they invest nor do they banking. Do they do banking? We'll come to that a little later. So that's how the banking scene has evolved in India. And we have a large banking ecosystem. And on top of it sits the Reserve Bank of India, which controls all banks. It is the government's bank also. It is the foreign exchange authority of the country. It is the monetary authority of the country. And it's the banker to the government. And it is the big daddy of banks, if I can put it like that. That's how if you picturize the banking system, that's how it is there today.
It does really have a rich history. So it was just like, we're curious, like, how does bank look like at this point, like today, how does it look like?
Okay, so firstly, before I go to that, the banking industry, I must tell you some characteristics for all my friends here. It's a very important thing to know, because some of you will be looking for jobs in the banking industry. Banking industry is a highly regulated industry. Highly regulated means, you've got eagle eyes looking at it. And that's very obvious. Why is it so regulated? Very simple. Because it holds your money in trust. You're going to give your life savings to a bank. And like I said, what do they do? Essentially, what does the bank do? It takes money from you. It lends to people who need it. Lending is a risky business. And it's your money. So, and you would have heard, probably if you read, there are a lot of bank failures. Fortunately, in India, there have been very few. But yes, that is the risk, that your money comes, it is lent to the wrong people, it is lent wrongly, for whatever reason, that money disappears. So first characteristic of a banking industry, commercial banking industries, is highly regulated. It is highly regulated because it is highly risky. If it is highly risky, it has to be very straitjacketed in terms of processes. It has to be very straitjacketed in terms of risk evaluation and things like that. So this is, if I give you an overall flavor, this is what a commercial bank looks like today. And if you ask me, in fact, I want to ask a question to these people before anything before we go on. Anu, you want to say something before I ask a question to the people here who are interested in banking jobs? Is there anything you'd like to say?
Yes. Yeah. So I must say there's often stereotypes attached to banking jobs when it comes. So what do you think about these stereotypes which is attached to banking?
Like, what are the stereotypes? I mean, if you could.
So like there are like stereotypes, like, in order to get into banking, to have a degree in finance, or it's the banking sector is mostly male dominated, or, like if it's a banking job, you're supposed to wear a suit, tie, and then it's a cubicle setting, or, the work environment is very poor. So these are kind of stereotypes we often have when it comes to banking sector. So what do you think about them?
So yes, one would always imagine you have images of yourself. In fact, this is one question I want to ask the audience here. We can take it up later, but I'll park it here. So my friends who are attending the webinar here, what is the picture you imagine yourself to have when you are, if you think you've got a bank job? So for example, I wanted to be a pilot, and my mental picture was I'm sitting in the cockpit of an aircraft and flying through clouds. But if you imagine, I'm addressing it to all my friends here. If you imagine that you are in a bank job, what is your picture? Could you just kind of type it and send it to Anu? Because we're going to take this up just in a little while. We'll take half a minute for you to type, for you guys to type whatever you think you imagine yourself to be in a bank job. I'll make it a little more interesting because then we're going to chat on this.
Yes, please drop in your comments in the chat box, and you can also drop in your questions or any queries that you have regarding the banking sector. So then we can have Mr. Karan Butalia answer them. So till then, if I would request, like if any of you have any questions, please drop in. And so that when we have the Q&A session, I will pick up those questions and have them answered by Mr. Karan Butalia.
So now we're going to come to something which is of real interest to you. So like I said, the future of banking is quite dependent on the trajectory the past of banking has taken. So when I joined banking 35 years ago, it was a totally manual system. Manual means everything was written down. And we had something called ledgers. Ledgers had they were huge books about 3 feet, 1.5 feet across and kind of almost 2.5 feet wide, each weighing 4 or 5 kgs, where the accounts of the people, the customers, would be maintained. So I got posted to a branch where there were 130 of those ledgers. I never needed to join a gym. I just had to live those ledgers. And at the end of the day, I would be like, having a 6-pack and muscles and all. So those were the days, manual system, everything was written, and you can imagine how it was. So those days required a lot of processing. Those days required a lot of writing. Those days required you to make vouchers. Those days required you to balance the books, something called balancing the books. Everything would be manual. And that was just, okay, maybe not for you, but for me, just 35 years ago. And today, you have your entire bank in this, everything in this. That is the phenomenal transformation which has taken place in India. So in India, 3 areas where the transformation has been phenomenal. One has been in the communication, mobile communication and telecommunication field. The second has been in capital market, and third has been in banking. It's beyond imagination that a country like ours could have reached in 35 years, and it's a phenomenal achievement. Now, if I'm saying this is the kind of metamorphosis which has taken place in the banking industry, obviously it has affected jobs. And I'm going to state something very simple here. Forget 35 years ago. I was a branch head in a bank just about 14 years ago. And I'm going to state this for all of you people to note. 90% of the jobs which existed in a bank branch 14 years ago do not exist today. I'm repeating it. And I'm emphasizing this, I'm being emphatic about this for you people, for you gentlemen and ladies, youngsters to understand. I'm saying it, 90% of the jobs which existed in a commercial banking branch 15 years ago, 14 years ago, 13 years ago, do not exist anymore. At least, let me qualify, at least they do not exist in that form. They do not exist in that form. So if they do not exist in that form, have they disappeared? I can almost say, yes, they've disappeared. And it's a very scary thing because if jobs disappear like that, why did they disappear? So there were two reasons for that. One is technology. The computer, the processing power of the computer replaced a lot of mundane, repetitive jobs, which the bank employees would be doing then, and which they had been doing for 60 years before that, 70 years before that. And second was something called outsourcing or back office operations. Outsourcing means inessential jobs which are not core to the bank, not core to the organization, were outsourced. So of course, the jobs went, but they went away from the bank, they existed somewhere else. Or they went to something called a back office, which is like like an assembly line, where everything is centralized and processed. So with this, 90% of the jobs disappeared. Now what? It's a scary scenario, don't you think? I mean, I'm asking my staff. What do you think, Anu? Scary?
Yes, I think it's not just me who's scared here. I think the entire audience is actually interested in banking sector.
Yes, but banking sector didn't die out. I mean, there was a recent movie, I'm sure a lot of people you would have seen, something called Now You See Me, Now You Don't. The banking jobs have been like that only. They were there, they're not there, but they're still there. And that the reason for that is why banking jobs have not gone away. That's for many reasons. One, India is still a fairly underbanked country. Fairly. India lives in different time zones, literally. I mean, Delhi is very different from a place 400 kilometers away from Delhi in the interior. And technology, however technology oriented, you will need a different kind of approach. You will need a brick and mortar approach. So you will require people there. That's the first thing. We are an underbanked country still. Second, we are a country which is, we are expanding, our economy is expanding. So you will need banking. Coincidentally, incidentally, I must tell you that there is one metric called the bank credit to GDP ratio. In all advanced countries, this is close to 80 to 90%. India, it's still around 50%, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, it's less than the countries. So this ratio measures the kind of contribution or the amount of credit compared to the GDP of the country. And more the credit, obviously more the business. And that's pretty obvious, right? More the business, which means more advanced or more commercially advanced that country is. So still very low in this area. So that's the second reason why we should not be worried. Banking has still to expand. To give you an example, you know what MSMEs are, medium and small enterprises, Even today, ladies and gentlemen, my friends here, you'll be surprised that not even 11% of MSMEs in this country, who are so important for the country, have access to formal bank finance, not even 11%. So there is a vast scope ahead. So while I've said jobs have disappeared, banking still has expanded. So what implication does it have for my friends here? So I'll delve a little bit into this, that what has actually happened to the jobs. See, when I'm talking about earlier times, you had manual jobs, or even with computerization, you had the front desk officers who would process your checks and who would process your requests and basically do a lot of manual work, make fixed deposits and give you credit cards. You sit on maybe you want a demand draft. I don't know whether you heard of this, or a pay order. All these things would be processed in the branch, right? So you needed a lot of people. You obviously had a teller, and you maybe had 2 tellers because of a lot of cash. And if you're in a big commercial area, you probably have 5 tellers sitting. Because mind you, I'm talking of days when ATMs were not so, I won't say popular, but there were not so many ATMs around. So you had these kind of jobs which are being done, which were essentially processing jobs, besides, of course, business jobs where you do sales and you make, you have relationship and all that. But over a period of time, all jobs which are repetitive and routine and which could be put into processes and which could be congealed into technology processes all disappeared, or went to the back office, or went to a factory setting. Checkbooks would not be issued in the branch. You just make a request. Today on your mobile, you make a request for a checkbook, it will be delivered the next day to you, because there is some factory-like place somewhere in Bombay or somewhere in Hyderabad, where the moment the request goes, the whole thing is automated. The courier comes and delivers you a personalized checkbook. That's just one example. You can today make and break FDs, fixed deposits on this. You want to issue a credit card, you want a credit card, you can do that, etc., etc. Loans also. You can go on the mobile and ask for a loan. You have pre-recorded history. So point I'm trying to make is that all those jobs which were being done, you had a loan officer in a branch earlier, you had a personal loan officer, you had a housing loan officer, you had a commercial loan officer. All these people still exist, mind you. Now, here's the important thing, my friends. These people still exist in a commercial banking branch or in a bank, but they do not do the job they were doing earlier. The nature of job has changed. So when I say, now you see me, now you don't in the banking jobs, what you don't see now is the kind of jobs which were done earlier. Now, this has huge implications for the future generations who want to join a bank. There will still be jobs which will be processing jobs. There will still be banks which are new, who might not be so technology savvy, or might not want to invest so much in technology, who will require manual interventions. But I've seen latest banks which have opened, they've opened with the best technology. They have opened with ATM, they've opened with mobile banking. So you're not likely to get a job where, in your imagination, when you join a job, you'll get a desk and a customer will come in front of you and say, sir, please give me a checkbook. Sir, I want to make a fixed deposit. And you'll say, okay, wait, I'm very busy right now, I'll do it. Yeah, those things are over. So if those things are over, what exists then? Why is there branch expansion? Why is there still banking, commercial banking part? To repeat for my friends, commercial banking is still one of the largest employers. And me I was a regional manager of a very large bank 10 years ago, and I would be holding interviews every day. One because of attrition and one because of expansion. So banks were there, but definitely one thing for you, all my friends here, the skill set required in a banking job today is entirely different than what it was a decade ago. So this is something we are going to talk about in a little more detail, so that I can emphasize this point to tell you this. Okay.
Yes. So here, of course, it's not just me. And like I've said again, you scared me and the audience for sure. So like if I were to, inform something to the audience, so what is the potential with the banking sector with, coming of technology?
Okay, so yeah, thanks, Anu. I'm going to come to this. Give me a second. Okay, yeah. So I was looking at some questions, but we'll come to that later. Meanwhile, please keep on asking your questions. So I hope I'm very clear. Jobs will still come up. Jobs will still exist. Indian banking will still expand. But what is wanted is a very different thing. So instead of your processing skills, instead of your mathematical skills, instead of your hard working skills, where you kind of do, sorry for saying this, not a very intelligent kind of work, you will now be wanted for, if I can use the word which is very loosely used, for your cognitive skills, for your relationship skills, for your communication skills. Because now you have still a loan officer there. You still have a housing loan officer, a personal loan officer, a credit card officer, a savings bank officer, a fixed deposit officer. You still have some front desk officers. Teller, of course, is still there, but it's been replaced by an ATM. You still have all these people in a typical large commercial banking branch. But they are mostly, and not mostly, they are oriented towards customer acquisition. You see, how do banks survive if they don't get new customers? The days of a public sector, when I joined in a public sector, I would sit, a customer would walk in and I would practically say, why is he coming? Those days are over. Now there's such intense competition to get customers that most of the jobs in a commercial banking branch, and there are other things also we'll come to later, are customer acquisition jobs, where the skills which you require are the ones which I've just spoken about: communication, relationship building, interactive skills. Of course, you need to know the product and all. That is a no-brainer. You need to know your banking products. Otherwise, you won't be able to sell. But most of the jobs in the front end are acquisition jobs. Yes, there are a lot of jobs in a bank which are the back end, which are the processing jobs. I don't know how exciting it will be for you if you want to sit in a factory and keep on processing applications which are coming. You know, you are almost a lot of jobs in the branch are post office jobs. Somebody comes and gives an application, it is put in a fax or in a an IT application which goes to the back office and it's processed. Those are not the very kind of exciting jobs you'd like because they don't offer you too much scope. So you have back office jobs. One thing I will make very clear, I'm trying to simplify, give you a very simple picture of banking because this is relevant for you and this is important for you, although it's a very complex picture out there. So this is the kind of job which exists. Now, if you are a kind of person, or let me put it positively, what are the kind of people who should be joining a banking job? What should be their orientation? So let's put it one way. The first is that ideally you should be able to, if you don't have, you should be able to work on your communication skills because interaction with customers is going to be huge. It's going to be this, the center point of your entire banking life, interaction with customers. Okay. Then another thing very important, and this is, I found a lot of, if I can use with a little bit of caution, a lot of failures. Second thing, you must understand about yourself whether you have service orientation or not. So I'll give you an example. If you are the kind of person who's rude to the Amazon delivery boy or to the waiter in a restaurant, or you look down upon a telecaller's job, you get irritated, this person is, because he or she is also doing a job. If you are the kind of person, and please pardon me, I'm not judging anybody, then banking job today is not for you. At least the commercial banking front-end entry-level job is not for you. You need to have customer orientation. You need to have service orientation. Customer orientation comes later. So if you have any qualms about, not having that, or if you judge yourself, yeah, I'm not really a very service-oriented guy, I'd rather be a more, process, I'd rather be a more theoretical, rather be a more work-oriented, type of a person, then banking job might not be very suitable for you in today's date and age. Third, if you are a free thinker, I don't think a banking job, typically a commercial banking job will be suited for you. And hold on to that. I'll tell you where it'll be suited. Because I told you right in the beginning, banking is a highly regulated job. If it is highly regulated, you have to work in processes, you have to work in routines, you have to work within an ambit of many laws. And if you are a free thinker and you want to improvise, you want to innovate in your job, don't do it. You can't do it. You'll do it at costing somebody else's money or your job. So for free thinkers, for people who are not very, I won't say disciplined, but who are not very oriented towards processes, not a very good idea to join the front end jobs. So first is this is about you, that if you are in all of these, wonderful, you still have huge opportunities in the banking sector, the commercial banking sector, in the front part. The second add to this, a wonderful thing which is happening in the banking sector, and you'll be reading about it, and I'm sure a lot of you would have experienced it also. So I said there is an unbanked potential, massive. Throw in with that something, what is happening is called the fintech revolution. So hear me out. Large banks, obviously because of their size, are not very nimble. They are really not able to reach what is called the long tail of the customer. If you see a distribution, your platypus distribution. Today, technology gives you the ability to reach the last customer, customized customer. There are a lot of fintech companies which are now either competing or collaborating with banks. And banks have today also recognized that we need nimble fintech companies who will help us reach the customers we haven't been able to reach. So that is a very exciting area for you people to, for the youngsters who are here to go into. Now you'll say ki fintech mein, I mean, how do I go into a fintech? Why not? Fintech also needs a lot of people, young people. There are a lot of startups and very good startups who have done phenomenal work in this area. So what they do is they make particular kind of API, or they have some, they have some technology. For example, they have this technology to read my saving bank account statement for the last 5 years and come to a judgment through their algorithms, through their machine learning or whatever. They come to a conclusion that Karan Butalia can be given a loan for 1 year up to 1 lakh rupees. That is his worth. Somehow they do it. I don't know how they do it, but they try to make a judgment. I'm putting it very simply. So these companies are collaborating, either lending or their own, joining with banks. So this is a huge area for the youngsters here to join in directly or indirectly. Now, how am I saying directly? Directly, you can join a startup. You could have your whatever is the job requirement there. If you have those skills, you join. Indirectly, there's another way. You can join a bank as a front desk officer or a sales officer or a relationship manager. Work there for 3-4 years, 5 years, learn the domain, and then go on to switch your career to a related, related field like fintech, because they will need domain experts. So that is another huge area. I mean, I'm just trying to again simplify this. There are much more to this than what I'm telling you, but these are two very obvious things where you will find in the banking, insurance sector and in the financial services sector, very clear trends which are taking place. And why I'm emphasizing on this is that this is increasing day by day. You have a digital highway with a lot of information flowing from the GST, from your bank statement. There are aggregators from the rating agencies, from the income tax authorities. All this data is flowing there, and you have these nimble fintechs coming, doing a plug and play and being able to offer some service to you by reading your statements and putting things together. So let me not overemphasize it, but this is a huge trend which is taking place.
So like you've mentioned all the skills that is required. So at this point, like how they would require communication skills to, better communicate with the people that they will be dealing with. So how do they inculcate those skills? Where do they go? Or is the college teaching them those skills? So where do they get these skills from?
So I'll answer that in two parts first. There was a question asked, I think, Anu, you told me, or I read it somewhere, that do you need some specialized skills to join a commercial bank? And let me be very candid about it. Nothing. There is, to join a commercial bank at the entry level, you don't require any specialized skills. The banks have their own filtering processes. They have an entrance exam, they have a group discussion, they have an interview. So I'm answering in two parts. They have a group discussion, interview, and a test. A test of reasoning. And in public sector banks used, or for probationary officers, you still have those tests where you have reasoning, mathematics, etc., and then a group discussion and an interview. So those are filtering processes for your selection. Private sector banks have their own ways, various own ways. They have straight interviews, walk-in interviews kind of things for experience and even inexperienced people. They have tie-ups with various educational institutions where you can go and work for. Where you have to study for about 6 months to 1 year in a specialized banking course, and that they absorb you in the bank. So there are various ways to get at the entry level. Now to answer the second part of the question, see, be very clear wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen, my young friends here, the moment either you go for the interview or you are in the bank, you have to distinguish yourself. You have to prove yourself slightly better than others. Now, how do you do that? You do that it's not a very highly complex way. You do it in a very simple way. You do it by knowing much more about the industry you're going to. In this case, it is banking or insurance. Now, how do you do that? Yeah, you can go on the net and check. But a preferable way would be that you prepare yourself before. So I'm going to just touch upon, for example, my organization, which is called Internshape. What do we do? how do we help people? So we don't do anything. We actually make you do something so that in a period of 2 months or 3 months, you are far better prepared, far better aware. You have worked on projects, virtual projects. You know a lot about, say, banking or insurance. And then when you go for the interview or you get selected, even if you are inside, we guide you, handhold you, mentor you at that time so that you are able to kind of differentiate yourself from the others. So that is one way of doing it. There are various other ways. And this is just one way. There are organizations, there are institutes which help you do this. Communication skills. Let me give you a very simple example. If I were to ask any of you, I would give you one problem and tell you, please write an email of the same problem to your boss, write an email to the same problem to your HR, write an email of the same problem to your junior, write an email of the same problem to your parent. And what happens in that case? You get learn how to communicate the same problem to different people. Anyway, this is digressing a little bit, but skill acquisition today, unlike my generation, you have a lot of avenues where you can prepare and show to your prospective employer or even your current employer that you are better than others. And once you are there, once you are inside, again, this is something which is a little bit in the future, not of your immediate interest, but please listen to me. I have learned, and everybody is learning, that getting into a job is not the end of things. You will go in, you will learn, you will need to reskill yourself, you need to restudy, you have to rejoin, and again that cycle starts. So that's the way it's going to be. But in conclusion, in some ways, I can say, before we go to the question and answers, is that because I have seen and the world has seen how the past is changing, the trend is going towards what I have told you. It is going towards collaboration of commercial banking with various fintechs, where you can get jobs and where you should try, or it is going towards jobs, which I told you, which are oriented towards customers, oriented towards service. And those days of sitting on a desk and passing a voucher from 10 to 5, and if you imagine, I'm sure you don't, if you imagine, which I used to imagine, that I go have my cup of tea, have a samosa and come back at 5 o'clock in the evening, those days are over. Mind you, even in the public sector banks. If you think this is all the private sector banks, no, this is as true for public sector banks today at all grades, which is equally competitive. It is equally good. I'm not going to say bad. Customer orientation, acquisition of customers, all that is as important today and as emphasized in public sector banks today as they're in private sector. And mind you, you will slowly see a lot of public sector banks, they're already being consolidated, and some of them will be privatized. That's the way the world is going. So you need to reorient yourself. Sales, service, customer service is the core of the banking jobs of the future, besides the technical things. Yeah.
Yes. So we've been, I think everyone is so interested. So I've been receiving a lot of questions from the audience.
Yes, let's answer them.
Yes. So first we have from Kumud. So the question here is, what are the key areas where freshers can work in the banking sector?
Okay. So I'll stick to the commercial banking right now. Like I said, why? Because that's where the main employment is generated. So in the public sector, you have probationary officers where you go in and they train you in everything. In the private sector, you have something called management trainees or trainees. Again, mostly you start with the branch banking. You can get a job of a relationship manager to begin with. Okay, you can get the job of a loan officer to begin with. You can get the job of a credit card officer to begin with. So these are products, basically, which you will be thinking. Or a person who gets, who gets customers for fixed deposits or for any of these banking products. So basically, you are a customer acquisition person. So it's not that, and yes, you might start being a teller also, which is an experience you need to gain. You could be the head of a sales team. You could be the head of the operations team. See, mind you, operation hasn't gone away. it's just been considerably reduced. So you need an operations team there also in these kind of jobs. So you and who works a little hard to qualify these exams is going to make it. I'm very clear about that. Yes.
Yes, yes. I think we have a very specific question here. So it's from Harpreet Kaur. So the question is there any scope as an HR manager in banking? So do banks appoint HR managers for every branch? And how can I get a HR manager in banking sector? So how can this person become an HR manager here? That's the question.
Yeah, so very, very good question. I was just talking right now of so we have line functions and we have staff functions. So functions like finance and accounts, functions like risk, functions like corporate communications, functions like IT, functions like cybersecurity, and functions like HR and administration are what are called the staff functions. Usually speaking, these functions are either concentrated in the head office of a bank or in the regional office. So you will never have a HR or these staff functions, as I have told you, you will never have them in a branch level. You will always have them maybe at a regional level. For example, I was a regional head for a bank in Punjab. So all those 300 branches, I was a regional head. So I had an HR person sitting in the region. I had an administration person sitting in the region. Yes, but you get those jobs. It's not that those jobs don't exist. Only thing is they're not in branch banking. Banks are huge employees of HR. I, as HR, head of HR business partnering, only in my vertical, not the COEs, I had 162 employees across the country in HR. And there were another about 100 in different other fields. So it's a massive thing. You will have these functions, but they are not in branches. They will be in the regional offices or mostly in the head offices.
Yes. So there is another additional question to that question. So is there any educational qualification that you require to be an HR manager in a regional branch?
Yeah. So usually you see nowadays days of specialization, either you have experience in that area, like I joined as a generalist in a bank, then I moved towards HR because there's a lot of job rotation in banks, which is a very good thing. And you catch up something which you like, and you have to prove yourself that you are good at it. And then you get into that particular field. Otherwise, it is advisable and it is almost necessary that you specialize. You do your post-graduation or MBA or something and specialize in that function and then go for it. Otherwise, getting into that field, it will take a lot of time. So you join a branch and then you work there, and from a branch you get an opportunity. Maybe you're very good at customer service, loans. You get into loans, you learn about loans. Then you go into the SME. From SME, the SME lending. From there, I'm just telling you a path. From there, once you've done that, you move to the head office, where there is job rotation and there's HR thing, you like something about HR, and meanwhile you have studied about HR, you've done an online course about HR, or you've taken a 6-month part-time course in HR, and you go and tell the HR person, look, I'm interested in HR. So that's one path. The other path is you do a straightforward, technical qualified MBA in HR, and you get that job. That's how the two paths go. Usually the specialization part is kind of overtaking the other path today,
Oh, that's great. So we have another question here, which is around cybersecurity. So the question here is, nowadays, due to new technology, the risk is increased. So what are the measures one could take in order to secure our money?
So, I mean, that's a very interesting question, not really to do with this topic, but yes, I told you one of the staff functions in a bank, and which is centralized, is cybersecurity. So you won't find it at the branch or regional level. It will always be the head office level, and it is closely aligned with the IT, information technology there. So that is one part of the story, that you have those HR. Cybersecurity is going to offer you a lot of scope in banking. If you are a cybersecurity person, you'll get a lot of jobs in a lot of banks, because all banks per se are technology dependent today, and the new ones especially so. About being safe about your money, there are two aspects. Let me be very clear, and this is an educative thing also. I'd love to share it with you. As long as you are not at fault and you have not compromised on your passwords or on your security things about your internet banking or mobile banking. If there is any loss to you because of hacking, where the bank-wide systems are done. Recently, I think some Filipino hackers hacked into a Bangladesh bank and robbed some $77 million. So the point I'm making here is that as long as you are careful about your cybersecurity aspects, the bank is obliged to take care of your money. So on that count, if somebody siphons off your money from a bank, the bank can't say, our security was compromised, so your money is gone. It doesn't happen that way. Yes, if it is proved and if it is seen that you were lax about your security and you gave your password to someone because of phishing as it is called, and so many other scams which are occurring, then I'm afraid banks have a very good case of saying, sorry, you lost your money. So the best would be very simple things. Don't have one password, which is your girlfriend or boyfriend's birthday. Don't do that. Please don't keep that password because you can guess that, or your birthday for that matter. Don't do that. Keep different passwords. I know it's very difficult, but keep different passwords for different kind of access on your, I'm sure you have 10, 20 passwords. It's difficult, but try to do that. Keep different password. Third, any mail coming that you won a lottery of 10 lakhs and give me 10,000 bucks and you can come here and take that money, just ignore. Today I got one from Amazon, purportedly from Amazon, that there's something wrong in your Amazon account and you have to reset it. I don't remember ordering anything on Amazon for the last 10 years. So clearly it was a fraudulent thing. They wanted something. You'll have these mails coming in day in, day out. You'll have such innovative ways. See, the crooks are always ahead of you. And the cyber crooks are far ahead of you. I believe there was a serial which I need to see, and people have been telling me, called Jamman Tara or something on Netflix or something, which shows how these gangs operate. And in fact, yesterday or day before the news, they caught 70 people in a fake BPO trying to skim off cards of people. All these things you got to take care of yourself. And this is a very sad part, that more the technology, more the vulnerable you are going to be. So just be careful. Rest is a little bit of your luck also. That's all I can say. There's no foolproof way, because in times of, especially ladies and gentlemen, my friends here, in times of greed, you're going to be caught on. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Next question. We have another 11 minutes to go.
Yes. So we have next question, which is by Ibad. So the question here is there any chance for us of getting a job just by clearing BBA?
So BBA is a graduation degree, and banks allow graduates. So there are some banks, and I have known many, who actually want only postgraduates and above. So if they allow graduates and they have this examination system, it doesn't stop you from there. But if you have the time and if you have the luxury and if you have the inclination, it would be good to do an MBA from a good institution. And here's one point, I'll seize this opportunity. Please be very clear about this. This sounds a little brutal, but if you are an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, the kind of job you are going to get in a bank will be very different. And if you're not, and if you go through the entrance exam, it's very simple. It sounds brutal, but it is a fact. The higher the qualified, more qualified you are, the better you are from an institute, the better kind of job you'll get, a choice you'll get. So you got to be very clear in what you want to do. If you can afford it, if you have the time, try to do an MBA or a highly technical qualification, like something in data analytics or something from a very good institute. You'll have a lot of demand in the banks. Banks is all about data, remember. The amount of data which banks have, possibly no other institution has. You can imagine. So let me tell you about my previous bank, which is called Axis Bank. It has 8 crore customers. Can you imagine the kind of data which is generated and the kind of data that bank can play with? And if you are a qualified data analyst, you are a qualified AI person, imagine the kind of enjoyment you can do with that data and tell the bank, look, here is what I've seen. Anu on every Saturday goes to Starbucks in Vasant Kunj and buys a coffee. Let's do something about that. Let's give her a card which gives her a discount of 50% on Starbucks and Vasant Kunj on Saturday. So that's the kind of long tail marketing you can do if you're a data analyst. So it all depends on how what you want to do. I am not saying that you only have to do that, but yes, it gives you a different opportunity.
Yes, so just additional question to it. While you were speaking technical skills, I have here more than three people here asking very specifically what are the technical and soft skills which is required to join the banking sector. So maybe if we can, point few of them out for them.
Yeah, so I did mention, so see, soft skills for example, my organization can help you improve it. I mean, not acquire it. We can help you, kind of guide you to it. Soft skills, and this is not only in banking, this is everywhere, but in banking more so, because I've told you it's moved away from operations and routine processing towards customer interactions. So soft skill, for example, communication, absolutely required. There is no question. If you are not, and I'm not talking English or anything, I'm just saying communication skills, whether it is through the gesture of my hands, through my expression of my eyes or my words, I need that. That's one absolute great soft skill which you require. Second, the kind of soft skill which I had mentioned to you, that maybe not a soft skill, but an orientation towards processes, orientation towards discipline. It's not really a soft skill, but if you are oriented towards that, a banking career would be good for you because like I said, it's a highly regulated industry. So if you are operationally oriented, if you like to think in terms of, lines and process, that's also a very good skill to have. Those are the kind of skills, and basically relationship management, respect for service oriented industry are some skills which you will require. Mathematics, counting, totaling, all those, not really they're not necessary conditions to join a bank as far as soft skills are concerned. And technical skills, see, very simple. Who's asked this question? Anu, who's asked this question?
Yes, so here we have Neha who has asked this question.
Okay.
Ibad also has asked this question. So there are like a lot of people who've asked the same question.
Yeah, so one skill, I don't know whether it's a skill, I'm going to twist it for your benefit and my benefit, is curiosity. Now you're going to join a bank and you want to join a commercial bank. If I'm the person who's interviewing you or we are having a group discussion, will I not be impressed? Or let's talk about you. Will you not be impressed by a person who has actually genuinely made the effort to find out what is commercial bank? What do they do? What has been commercial banking in the country? What are the future trends of commercial banking? Where is commercial banking going? What are the kind of jobs which are available? Tell me, if two people come and Neha comes and I ask Neha, so what do you know about banking? Where do you want to join? Neha tells me, sir, I'm very interested in the loans portfolio. Okay, Neha, which loans portfolio? Sir, I'm very oriented like this because the housing market is expanding. Housing loan is something which I love. Okay, Neha, what do you know about housing loans? And Neha tells me something. How much does it take to impress a person compared to a person who says, sir, I want to join a job. That's it. I'm sorry. I'm being a little funny here. I want to join a job. I want to join a banking job because it's glamorous. I wear a tie and, I sit from 10 to 5 and I enjoy the job. And sir, it has always been my ambition to join banking. Come on, don't give those answers. So if you are prepared, if you have some curiosity, so I won't say curiosity is a kind of a skill, but it will really help you if you are well prepared for this. And like I said, there are various people, organizations which can help you prepare, genuinely help you prepare by making you learn and do that. So Neha, I would seriously advise that whatever industry you want to go to, you must put in that kind of effort. And Google Baba is always there to help you. So do that. It's not difficult. You just have to make a slight difference at the stage where you are, ultimately you are kind of trying to impress the person who's interviewing you. That's it. That this person has taken the initiative. There's nothing much to it. I'm being very candid, positive, and optimistic with you. There's nothing much to it. You just need a little more, do a little more than others. Yes. So we have 4 minutes now.
Yes. But then I have questions, flowing
I'll try to answer them as fast. Yeah.
Yes. So we have another question. So it is from an anonymous attendee. So the question here is, from where can we do the banking internship while pursuing graduation?
Okay. So good. That's very nice. So there are a lot of banks. Obviously, I will not name them, but there are a lot of banks who take interns for short-term projects. For example, market surveys. A lot of banks take a lot of interns. They want to find out what the market is. For this, you'll have to, your college will have to kind of coordinate with them. They usually don't advertise. That's one very interesting. If your college is in in touch with these banks, they will take interns for the HR department. I used to take a lot of interns for the HR department also. So interns are taken across all banks in areas which do not deal with customer secrecy, with customers. So in a bank, if you do internship, one thing you have to be very clear, you will not get too much insight into customer dealings, because those are privacy and secrecy things which have to be kept. But in other areas, you'll get internships. We had a lot of interns coming into our IT department, a lot of them. And mainly because IT department had a lot of attrition. Now, we had a lot of interns coming into the digital for UI UX experiences, because that was a new thing which was coming up. HR, we had a lot of interns. Market surveys, we had a lot of interns. If a bank is launching a new product, you have a lot of interns to do, to check about the product in the market, the reception of the product in the market. So where is slightly a question which I will not be able to answer, but if your college is in touch with banks, they'll ask you. I don't know whether they advertise. I haven't seen too many advertisements. Maybe social media. Sorry, I will not be able to answer that completely. But in HR, for example, I used to tell my juniors that, okay, I need 4 interns to look at do some studies about, onboarding of employees. So get me 4 interns, and they would find someone. So it was a slightly informal process. Yes, okay. Please.
Yes. Just like maybe we can address one more question, if that's fine with you.
I'm okay. I can extend it if people are not, bored of my.
No.
Let's ask the next
so the question here is, yes. So the question here is, do I have to be good at maths to be successful in banking jobs?
Not at all. Let me be very, very clear about it. Those days, and the days when I said you should be good at maths, all you needed to be good at maths is know how to add 1 + 2 + 3. So there was never a good at maths thing. So that's a very, it's a very stereotype. It's a misnomer that you have to be good at maths. But I must say one thing, that yes, if you want to go into the high end of, let's say, data analytics and machine learning and all those kind of things, if you have a mathematical orientation and if your course demands high level maths, then of course. But otherwise, banking jobs don't require any mathematical. I mean, if you're meeting a customer, if you're going to approach Anu, that Anu, please, open an account in my bank, you're not going to tell her, I know what 2 + 2 is. So no worries on that count. You only have to tell her, communicate to her, make a connect with her, and tell her, about your product, and say, okay, ma'am, if not today, tomorrow, maybe all those skills, sales skills. Yeah. I really don't want to emphasize on skills. I would rather call them communication skills, relationship building skills, empathy skills. Yes, please.
Yes. Okay. So maybe we can wind up because we're already, running out.
Anu,
yes.
If you can extend it for 5-10 minutes and we can answer our questions, we'll do it. Otherwise, it's okay. I don't know. It's up to you.
Okay. Sure. So maybe maybe 2 more questions.
Yeah, sure. I'm okay.
Okay. So we have one more question, which is, are coaching classes, mandatory to crack banking exams? Is another question that we have.
So not mandatory, but yes, coaching classes or doing some, online course or getting some test papers for these probationary officer exams or for private sector entrance exam is advisable. I'm not saying mandatory, but it is advisable because they kind of tell you how to go about. And that's what you need. Rest is all your brains and how fast you think and how fast you're able to do the rational questions and the English questions and this. But they'll just tell you the trend in those this thing. Not mandatory, but yes, I would advise, if you can afford it, you must do it.
Okay. And so just to wind up, so what is that one advice that you would want to give, our attendees for their future in banking?
Yeah. So I'm going to change this a little bit. Not about, yes, okay, let me put it in banking, because the change in banking has been so tremendous that the one thing which I have learned, and which I think if we extrapolate will still be relevant, is your ability to relearn and reskill. I myself in 33 years, in those days when you think you've done your MBA, you know, that's the end of it all. After 14 years, I studied for 1.5 years. Again, after about 13 years, again, I studied for a 6-month full-time course in one of the top institutes, because you got to keep on relearning. So I would say join, learn, reskill, restudy, rejoin, work again. So if I have to give one advice to you, please be very clear, my young friends, that joining a job, whether banking or otherwise, will not be kind of the end of your learning or studying. You got to do both. You'll have to do it. Otherwise, you'll be left out. It's a fact. Sad fact, but it's a fact. And those who maintain their curiosity, keep on learning, reskilling, will go ahead. You know, that's all. And I hope all of you do that. Banking is a very exciting area. We haven't talked much about insurance today. So is insurance. You're going to get a lot of opportunities, and I've given you the broad trends where it is going. Try to fit yourself in those trends. Thank you so much. Anything else, Anu, or are we done?
No. We're just closing it. So I must say, we have comments like, you know, the session was not at all boring, but like they're happy with the session and, you know, the talk you've given. And there's another person who is thanking for answering, you know, that person's question. So yes,
thank you.
So here we're like about to finish just because we're over time now. So I would love to thank Mr. Karan Butalia, the Internshape team, and everyone who has come to attend our webinar. So it's like when the talent and potential like yours meet genuine experience and sound advice as presented by Mr. Butalia today, there is a bound to be positive and promising growth for professional futures of many young business women and men. So thank you, Mr. Butalia, for investing your time in promising young talent of today. So I would also urge...
Not at all. You're welcome. And do visit our website. We are doing a very nice thing. I'd like you to discover it yourself. Have a look at our internship website. Possibly we'll be able to help you sometime soon.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, so do visit our website and our social media accounts, and have a very, very, very good weekend. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Yes, and if you have any questions, you might, you know, just leave it on the comments, and we'll have them addressed by Mr. Butalia himself.
Yes, I will do that. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.